Hey Kevin, you talked about how they're now the glam team, and I don't think that we've ever had to really grapple with this because they've never been the glam team. But the Clippers are probably about to get a lot more fans. They could be a contender. I don't know down the road, and I wonder, is it okay to cheer for their success? I mean, Donald Sterling is what can be described as a racist, and I know that you're very literal minded, not into making moral judgments on what people do, but I wonder, could you argue against rooting for this team just based on who owns them, and will it be potentially awkward if they continue to ascend higher?
I think you can make the moral. I think you can make that moral argument. I mean, it's really tough. I think there is a hold your nose factor, and because I mean the Clippers sort of occupy the place of the East Coast expat, the sort of the east of Western Ave hipster in LA. I think they've always been sort of the alterna team, and so there was always a certain permissiveness that you would just kind of look the other way because you knew ownership was creepy. Because the Lakers are just so unpalatable. And I mean, this is kind of the crazy irrationalism of the sports fan, right? Like the sheer fact that the Lakers were successful is more offensive to the sports
Yes.
fan, sort of the enlightened sports fan, than the fact that the other team's owner just participates in some really, really horrible practices as a businessman, as a philanthropist, or a non-philanthropist, as the case may be. And so it's not rational. And I mean, I kind of wrote about this in the early days of Clipper Blog. Just how do you sort of come to terms that you're. I remember sort of asking a friend if they wanted to go on season tickets in '02, and the friend on political grounds said, no, I just cannot write a check to the Clippers. I was like, well, write the check to me and I'll write it to the Clippers. And so it's tough. I mean, I think, okay, so now we have to sort of appraise our sports teams, not on do we like their players, but on the political contributions of their owners. And we can do that. Like, I mean, if you're I mean, it was funny. I'm compiling right now the presidential donor list with NBA owners, management, players, etc. I mean, it's fascinating to look at like Rich DeVoe's giving history. He's the owner of the Orlando Magic, and just huge, enormous Republican contributor. And so you start bringing in stuff like that. It's like kind of where do you stop? And your answer would be, well, you stop at the fact if a guy's a slumlord who basically excludes people of color from his apartment, yeah, that's where you stop. And in which case, you can't be a Clipper fan.
Do you think that Clippers fandom would make more sense? Not that fandom needs to make sense. We're talking about the irrationality of a fandom, but would it make more sense if the league wasn't oddly divided in the conferences based on region? I feel like it's hard for a Lakers fan to logically also be a Clippers fan and vice versa because they share the same conference and they share the same division. So it's different than, a situation where you can be a White Sox and Cubs fan because they're kind of separated in different spheres. Do you think that for this reason and this reason alone, perhaps the NBA shouldn't divide conferences based on region?
I mean, it's interesting because I know a lot of Laker fans who have this cloying sympathy for Clippers and sort of, root for them. And just because I get it, it pushes the spotlight to Los Angeles. If anything, I think they see it sort of as the Clippers as this non-threatening co-star. That it's great when they succeed. You kind of you kind of stand up at the Golden Globes table, give them a big clap. You're kind of that they're actually not so much competitors as little brothers. And and 4 times a year they're going to beat the crap out of the Clippers. And the other 78 times or 62 times, I'm still having to kind of factor this like point. Like people are they a 50-win team. It's like what does that mean? Yeah, but I don't think regionalism sort of governs that. Now it may become real. I mean, I think that's what sort of Jay wrote about, and what I think a lot of people who are actually sort of in Los Angeles kind of curious about is just how this manifests itself. I mean, there was a blip of that in 05, 06, but that team that wasn't a glam team. I mean, that was like, those are the blue collar guys. And this is a glam team.
It wasn't a glam team; it was a brand team. I'm sorry, that was terrible.
That was horrible.
I will move. I will move on from that and ask: are you already? Are you already detecting some resentment from Lakers fans? Because I am detecting a little bit of that on Twitter already. Are you feeling that they perhaps don't like this already?
Oh, they hate it. I think more is the conspiracy theories about Stern trying to deny the Lakers Chris Paul, which I have just trouble kind of reconciling because there would be nothing better for the league than Chris Paul to become a Laker. And I don't know what other than, well, he's making a statement to the cantankerous small market owners that, a team like the Lakers or the Knicks can't just sort of pluck a guy, by sheer want. I mean, I guess that's a marginally plausible theory. I just don't buy it.
Let me step in. Let me say, I do kind of buy it because this league doesn't seem to be best for it in the macro sense, but it's often governed by what petty and jealous owners agree upon who are on the outside looking in. Like I would cite when Orlando won the draft 2 years in a row and we went to a system where the lottery was suddenly weighted. I don't think that was good for the league. I think that so much of what the rule changes are motivated by owner bitterness, and I think that would be in keeping with this.
Okay, but is the objection the Laker thing, or is the objection the superstar choosing his team thing? Is the objection market, because they occupy the same market? I mean, the Clippers are a big market team; they play in the exact same building. It's just not a consistent argument. I mean, I kind of take the league a little bit at face value. I mean, if I'm putting this team up for sale, I don't know who his skull is. Yeah, I mean, the truth probably lies somewhere in between. And again, you and I have talked about this. I mean, we just don't know. Mm-hmm. If there's some prospective owner, who wanted to make a really, strong push for Paul's services, and the bar was, placed at a certain level. We just don't know.